Got some juicy IPO news that you need to see, and trust me, it's going to help you with a bunch of stuff going forward. We're going to talk Ripple, XRP. Why? Because they're in DC and price action is hot. The battle for stablecoins is heating up now that the Genius Act has been signed. We're going to talk price action along with
I say lots of naughty things, so here's your warning.
Happy Saturday to you crypto fans. It appears the market's found some footing. Don't worry, we'll talk price action at the end. We're also going to talk about what everyone? The retard alert. That's right. Even though I was the leader of the XRP Army, I sold it 60% ago. Portnoy's just a frickin' shill. That's all it is. Kraken pays him to say whatever and he does it. What a pathetic moron. All right, now before we get into news, you know the deal. We get into your comments. Why? Because you, the viewer, matter most. Ralph Perry says stay on vacation. Shrugger says don't Portnoy your XRP. That's actually kind of funny. I kind of like that statement right there. NSK says I hope all is going smoothly with your health. Appreciate your dedication bringing the news. Every day have fun there. That's right. For some reason the market seems to pump while I'm on vacation, so maybe I should what? Stay on vacation. Justice for Peanut says can you wish Brian a happy birthday and anniversary on July 19th from the wifey? Thanks. Well, looking at my Garmin right now, it is July 19th. So, Brian, happy birthday and anniversary from the wifey. Check it out. A little bit of lady support here in the comments. Last one, and then we get into it. Romaine the Trucker says, Klaus, how about you stay out of America until we're all crypto millionaires? Take one for the team. The price increases while I'm on vacation. Well, I've got good news for you. I'm going on vacation again later in the year. I'll tell you when so that you can play your longs correctly. That's right, the retard finder on X. Everything you see in this video, it's all linked in the description below. It says Paperhands Portnoy claimed he was the leader of the XRP Army. Well, then why did you sell? I remember when BitBoy said he was the leader of the XRP Army. And then I remember when he said he was the Sultan of Solana. How freaking cringe. People just say shit because they're paid to do so. By the way, I don't do that. Why? I have no sponsors, nothing like that. So everything you see here is unbiased news. Now, IPO stuff. This is why IPOs are juicy. And this is why it's important to follow. Crypto exchange bullish US IPO filing reveals a quarterly loss. Okay, so when these companies file for IPOs and once they are public, they have to share their financials with the public. Yeah, that means people like you and me can go and we can search their financials, see if they're making money, see if they're losing money, see if they have a lot of debt, do they have good cash flow, and so forth. Well, Bullish filed for an IPO and they're losing money. So would you get into a company that's losing money? Bullish joins crypto exchange Gemini and crypto-focused manager Grayscale, both of which confidently filed for US IPO. Uncertainty surrounding Trump's tariff policies had slowed down the IPO market, but it has recently heated up. Bullish, in its filing with the U.S. securities regulator, reported a net loss of $348 million for the first 3 months ending March 31st. Whoa, so think about that, okay? So this company files for an IPO and they've had a loss for the first 3 months of this year. Now, when we look at the crypto market right here, we know volume was juicy AF for the first 3 months. So how the hell were you losing money, my guys and gals out there at Exchange Bullish? Either way, wanted to share this with you because that's one of the big things about going public that gives us more information. And information is key in this market. Tether's CEO says USDT is coming to America, and Circle's CEO isn't afraid. Why would they be afraid? Right? I mean, we know there's haters out there of Tether. We know there's haters out there of Circle. But each one has a use case. Minutes after Trump signed the Genius Act into law, CEOs of the world's 2 largest stablecoin issuers laid out their plans for complying with the legislation. Paolo Ardonio, the CEO of Tether, said Decrypt Friday that his company intends to make sure USDT is compliant with the Genius Act. Says we'll be working very hard, blah, 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 blah. Okay, now that the regs have been signed, these players are going to do what they can in pretty much everything in order to be compliant. Now, does this mean, certain ones aren't going to be? No, they're going to figure out a way. Trust me. They're going to figure out a way to be compliant. Remember when everyone was like, when MICA happens, Tether is going to crumble. No, Tether keeps printing money. So no, these companies adapt. This is important, all right? So don't follow the FUD out there, but, Tether's going to collapse. No, it's all just bullshit to get you to Portnoy, right? Your Tether beliefs. All right, listen to this. The Genius Act requires foreign issuers to obey stringent anti-money money laundering laws and undergo an intricate audit reserves. Tether reserves have never undergone a full audit. That's a lie. They have gone a full audit. The problem we have with Tether's reserves is there's a big chunk of BTC in there. And that's a big problem because that's what? Not going to be allowed. Now, the SEC chair Paul Atkins signals possible support for the Genius Act. Dude, shut the fuck up. Atkins, you have to support it. Why? Because it's a freaking law. Remember when Gensler was saying, "Hey, look, this is what I'm doing with crypto"? Yeah, because we had old laws. Now that we have new updated ones, such as the Genius Act, Atkins has to support it. Atkins has to. It is a law, and with him being the SEC chair, he has to follow the law. Right? We can't have another Gensler 2.0 going on. The recent endorsement of the Genius Act by SEC Chair Paul Atkins signals significant advancement in the regulatory landscape. This legislation aims to establish a comprehensive national framework that balances consumer protection with the innovation. Atkins' support reflects a growing consensus. No, some of these articles are just dumber than shit. That's why I wanted to bring this up. When something is a law, you have to follow it. You can't just do your own thing. Now, the way people interpret a law, yeah, that I get. But here's the thing. The reason Gensler was interpreting the law the way he did is because he was using old, outdated, antiquated stuff meant to regulate a securities market for the crypto markets. But now that the Genius Act has been signed, we have a lot more like updated regs. We've got a lot more stricter regs. We've got a much more defined piece of legislation in order to regulate the crypto market. So for them to say Atkins is endorsing it, he has to. It's the fucking law. Everyone has to. It doesn't matter if it's me, you, Atkins, Trump, or whatever. This law has been signed. Guess what? You gotta follow it. Brad posted up on Twitter, and like I said, this is all linked in the description below. Team Ripple is representing in DC. That's right, Team Ripple at the White House celebrating a historic day for crypto. Bummed I wasn't able to make it in person, but celebrating from afar. That's all right. Stuart Alderati and the other peeps were there hanging out. I wanted to share this with you because we've seen a lot of inside ties with Ripple and the White House, right? They're always getting invited to this stuff. And were there a lot of other crypto companies there? No, there really weren't. Now, that being said, as the news broke yesterday, I was hanging out at Ruta Quattro. That's right, a little bit of tacos, a little bit of buffalo wings, and a little bit of mojitos for my mom. Where? At Ruta 4 in Zona Quattro. Awesome place. All right, now a really interesting one for you. Okay, so about a month and a half ago, there was a press release about Ripple and Circle launching USDC on XRPL. And everyone was like, "Oh, bro, this is amazing. This is going to be big action news." And remember, what's my job? Bring you the news, good, bad, happy, or sad. Well, today, I'm going to bring you a dose of reality. So, USDC was launched on XRPL and everyone went bonkers, right? All over Twitter, people were like, "Oh, this is going to be freaking awesome. It's going to melt faces. They're going to be billions and billions and billions of dollars and everything is going to flow." Well, we can track that. Yeah, and this also is linked in the description below. What I have up on the screen right now is XRPL stablecoins, all right? Right now, there's only $90 million worth of stablecoins on XRPL. What are they? Well, there's only 4 of them right now that are worth mentioning. Ripple's RLUSD is on there. It's the biggest one at 65 million. Open Eden Treasury Bill is the second biggest at 20 million. And then there's USDC. $4.3 million on XRPL. 4.3 million. That's with an M. So for all those knob gobblers and all those other retards on X that said, "Oh, when USDC gets launched on XPL, man, it's going to melt faces." Well, you dumbasses, guess what? There's only $4.3 million worth of USDC on XRPL. And like I said, it's all linked in the description below. So we can track all this stuff. Now, that being said, RLUSD, where's the biggest amount of RLUSD minted? On the Ethereum chain. So there was 60 million-ish there on the XRPL chain. How many was on the Ethereum chain? Well, again, you could click on ETH. You could scroll on down. Look, ETH has how much for USDC? Well, I can share that with you. Check it out right here. They've got 39 billion USDC on theirs, right? Ripple's, they got 461 million. So players are choosing what? ETH to launch their stables. Like I said, you can track all this stuff so you can see if people are bullshitting or not. Now, the market has definitely found some footing here. Altcoin season index is 39 out of 100. Fear and greed's at 69. Nice, had to share that with everyone. BTC is not pumping a lot on this news. Why? Because this is more clarity for stablecoins, and the Clarity Act is going to help what, everyone? The alts. Swinging it on over to XRP, we can see that, yes, even though that the weekend is here, the volume is still juicy. And as soon as my screen loads, I'm going to be able to tell you what it is because I was able to see it before I went live. 8.7 billion in volume. Now, granted, it's gone down quite a bit. Why? Because it's the weekend, and we've seen that a lot of traditional finance players stay out of crypto on the weekend and they work their banker's hours, Monday to Friday. I don't. I bring you the news 7 days a week. So this is the 7-day chart of XP. So we could see definitely some peak action, some profits, but look at the leveling here, right? This wasn't a sharp fall. There's definitely some leveling off here. There's definitely some support. Let's go to those candlesticks, and yeah, they got rid of all our fun candlesticks, everyone. Now they stuck us with these stupid, longer time frame bullshit ones. Oh, gosh, I'm going to have to get a new one when I get back to the hood. All right, so this is what I'm talking about support-wise, and you can see that right here. You've got support finding lows of what? 336 on this candlestick right here, 337, and what, everyone? 336 on this. So you've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different candlesticks right here, all at that 336, 337 mark. So we're starting to establish some near-term support for XRP. So no, are we holding on to the biggest gains? No, no one ever holds on to the peak. Is Bitcoin holding on to the peak of 123 or whatever the hell it was? No, Bitcoin's right now at 118. So what are we seeing? Some floor support for XRP being developed. And this is happening as the volume is starting to go down during the weekend, right? So as players are taking profits, we're starting to see where XRP sits. And right now, sitting at 336 as floor support seems very, very juicy. Because remember, that was the Genius Act that was signed. The Clarity Act will do what, everyone? Give us regs for the rest of this blob of crypto right here. And that's where a lot of us are looking at the next pumperoni to come from is from the Clarity Act. Now, Clarity Act has passed the House. They send it to the Senate. As soon as I get updates for you on when they're going to start debating on it and voting on it, I'll share that with you. So make sure you hit that notification bell and that subscribe button so you don't miss out. But right now, what's the deal? We're still deep in the green when you zoom out. Yeah, we've got some near-term floor support at 336, 337. XRP's looking juicy AF, and the rest of the crypto market seems to finding support as well. And again, what, everyone? Don't be a Portnoy. Even though I was the leader of the XRP Army, I sold it 60% ago. Yeah, dude, you're just a paid shill. That's all it is. All right, so what are the big takeaways from today's video? Be very careful out there with those paid shills, right? Your Portnoys, your BitBoys. When they get paid to say stuff, they're only saying it because they're getting paid, not because they believe. I do not have any sponsors, and I don't plan to take on any sponsors. Why? So that I can give you the unbiased news. Just like I shared with you the whole deal with Circle's USDC on XRPL, where everyone's like, oh, bro, Circle on XRPL. Seriously, go on Twitter and search XRPL USDC, and you're going to see a whole bunch of those hopium pumpers out there. And what do they got? 4.6 million on chain? What are you going to do with that? That's nothing. That's pequeño. Now, what else have we learned? Well, when these companies file IPOs, we can check their financials. And Bullish, guess what? Lost money during the first quarter of this year. How the hell did you lose money during the biggest volume quarter ever for crypto? So, and if exchange can't make money on the biggest quarter of volume, something is up. Now, obviously, there's always reasons for it. Maybe they spent a lot of money on expanding. Maybe they were spending a ton of money on marketing. But either way, you could track that stuff. And that's why these IPOs are freaking awesome. Ripple's definitely being represented with close ties to the White House. I don't see too many other peeps out there hanging out in the White House. But guess what, everyone? We're also seeing support. Floor support, which is key. And that's what I think this weekend and next week is going to be all about, right? Because we had the big week that we're just going through right now. And we know you can't maintain that kind of momentum all the time, right? There's going to be some profit taken during the weekend. You're going to see the volume go down, right? You're going to see people kind of lining their pockets with profits and all that kind of stuff when we get it. So next week is going to tell us what? How strong that floor support is, because we know it's not going to be good news all the time, right? There's going to be something out there negative, right? We're going to have Jerome Powell probably say something stupid. There's probably going to be something in the Middle East eventually that flares up again. And we're going to really see what the price floor looks like. But right now, near-term support's right around that 336, 337. So XRP fans, good news, because when you zoom out, like a month ago, we were at like $2 mark, and that's where our floor support was. So let's see what happens. I'll keep you all informed. Enjoying myself out here in Guate. Seriously, beautiful country, some of the nicest people ever, and honestly, some of the best food ever. Choo choo what? Choo choo nachos as I'm watching the Wi-Fi's, baby.